Hi, everybody. Welcome to Faith Bridge God Sightings, past and present. You know, on these Friday night gatherings, we find that it's just helpful to look back at various stories that we've enjoyed over the years that remind us of God's hand at work. Because sometimes when we look backwards and we see God's hand and where God has worked, we can pull that hope forward into the current era, which we're all navigating and which we all agree is somewhat tenuous. And so we're going to look back this evening at a touching, inspiring story that many of us got to enjoy during the Legacy Project campaign last fall of a young man named Logan Harmon. He grew up here in the church, and he's going to share his story with us, and then he's going to join me live. Take a look at the video.
My name is Logan Harmon, and I am about to be a senior in college, and I've been at Faith Bridge since I was in 6th grade. We specifically came to Faith Bridge because of the student ministry. I got involved in Elevate first until I moved to Point Break and the high school ministry. I remember high school was such a time for me where, everyone's trying to fit in, they're trying to find this group, and the leaders that were here making you feel welcome, feel loved, like you didn't have to be somebody you weren't. But you were accepted for who you were, showed me what genuine relationships look like. There was a guy named Jason Connor who was my Curious leader, who eventually discipled me outside of Curious from 6th grade all the way until I graduated high school.
Logan always stayed in relationship with me throughout high school, but he was very honest with me too about some of the challenges that he faced and some of the questions that he continued to have. I love that he was always very candid with me about going like, I know this is what God says, but I don't really feel it, or I'm really challenged by that. I'm still thinking on that. He was never one to just kind of tell me what I might want to hear.
That discipleship was the first time someone had ever come alongside of me and was teaching me these things, but also he was doing life with me.
It's not just this once a week we meet and do a Bible study, or once a week we meet and pray together, but the vision of kind of like really knowing one another and really being a part of each other's lives beyond going to church or meeting for this or that.
He helped me overcome some of the biggest sin struggles that I was dealing with because I didn't know how to. And it was the first time someone stepped in and said, hey, let me walk this with you. That was an amazing time for me because it was a place while I was lost, I could come in and feel loved and feel accepted. Coming out of high school, going into college, I decided to go to the University of Oklahoma and was super excited about that. But I would say that it was in my first year of college where I really found that I truly wasn't surrendered to Christ.
I knew that leaving high school and moving towards university, that he was still working some things out for himself. I knew that he had a great heart, and I knew that from his mom and dad at home, and from me and from others in FSM that had been pouring into him, I knew that he knew the right things, and I know that God never lets those things go to waste. I know that they were deeply in his heart, but I knew that there was also that battle within him of who he was gonna ultimately be, what choices he was ultimately going to make.
It was at the end of my freshman year. I was just in a really broken place. I did the fraternity life, I partied, I did everything that you're supposed to as a freshman in college that the world tells you, and it left me more broken than when I came in. And so I remember specifically crying out to God and being like, I'm trying to chase after you, and yet I don't feel you. And I remember him saying, I won't help you until you let me help you. And it was in that moment I realized he was asking me to surrender, and it was something that I had never done before. That brought a whole new meaning on what it means to give your life to Christ because I ran my own life. And it was in that moment I gave my life to Christ. And I think that one of the most amazing things now, 3 years into this, looking back, is everything that I had done growing up in the church, God used to pursue me.
Sometimes people will, it's much later in life, 5, 10, 20, 50 years later, when people are coming to that realization of the truth of the things that they were told as kids. It was seriously a high day, a great day when I learned that really God had begun, continued to water those seeds that had been planting and really continuing to transform Logan's heart and mind that first year in university.
So I'm discipling a couple guys now, and a lot of times I find myself when I'm in these one-to-one meetings with them or these 1-to-2 meetings with them, thinking back to what Jason did for me when I was growing up. It's an actual relationship, and I wouldn't have known that unless I had first been taught, and two, if I would not have been given that example.
I think discipleship is important for students because, middle school and high school are just fantastic opportunities for that. They are some of the most challenging seasons in a person's life, and they're really formative about who that person's going to be. If we're training them to be the best baseball players or the best students or the best football players or the best, vocalists, we're training students in all these other ways right now, and why not really, challenge them to take their walk and relationship with God seriously in the same way.
All of these things that I experienced and learned, I'm now getting to bring into my personal ministry. And the fact that I have a ministry is only because I was taught the significance of that. Because I had this foundation and someone decided to invest in me, because there was a building for me to go to, there was a worship bands on Sunday night, I now have salvation and a relationship with God for all of eternity.
Great story. And it's great to have Logan with me right here. Hello, Logan, through the screen.
How are you? Good to see you, Pastor Ken.
Good. Where are you today?
I'm actually at a beach in Texas practicing my social distancing.
Well, good for you. I think that sounds like a great place to be, and you keep yourself safe and enjoy the out of doors. So, again, thank you for that great story. It meant so much to so many of us back during the Legacy campaign in the fall. And so here's what I want to ask you now. You've, some water's gone under the bridge, so to speak, here in the recent months. Give us a little update on now what's going on in your life, and particularly, what's the Lord been teaching you in this season of transition?
Yeah, the Lord has been doing some incredible things in my life just over the past season. I actually just about 2 weeks ago graduated from the University of Oklahoma, so it's a huge transition season for me. And the Lord has been incredibly faithful to be there every step of the way as He kind of has led me out of college and into starting my job in ministry. And so the Lord has really been teaching me just how much He is in control. I struggle with being a control freak. I love to lead and make decisions and that sort of thing. And when it comes to my relationship with the Lord, He is good enough to allow me to have free will and make some of those decisions. But at the end of the day, He constantly reminds me how much He's in control of everything, especially if you want to look at something like this pandemic that we're in. I mean, He has got everything under control. Nothing takes Him by surprise. No matter how hard it is for me to accept, how hard the pill is to swallow, I can rest easy in the fact that He's just got everything in His hands. And so that's what He's been reminding me daily, especially in this season of transition and confusion.
I love it. I love your transparency too. I know we've talked before just a little bit about control issues that maybe are a little bit in both of our lives, a little anxiety and some of that. And so just even hearing you talk about God's faithfulness, dependability, sovereignty that ministers to me. So tell us, what's your job now?
So I just started working for an organization called Student Mobilization. It's a college ministry. We're on over 20 college campuses across the U.S., and we're even global. And my specific job is I have come on staff with the OU campus. And so I will be ministering, starting Bible studies, and making disciples within the Greek system, so the fraternity houses of OU's campus, starting now. We just got ready to start our summer program, and then in the fall, I will transition into being back on campus. And they will assign me a couple fraternity houses, and I will go in and just labor for the kingdom and share the gospel. And so I'm super pumped about that.
Oh, that's awesome. That's fantastic. I'm excited to hear that update and to celebrate that you're going to be in the mission field. As a pastor, that makes me really grateful and really proud just to have watched you grow up and to see you now going out to serve the Lord. That's awesome. Well, hey, brother, thank you so much for joining us today, and just know of our pride and our joy that continues to follow you. And I look forward to hearing your successes and updates along the way, and blessings to you and your family as well.
Thanks again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And thank you, everybody. It's good to have you this evening, and I hope that you have a great evening and a great weekend. We'll see you tomorrow for kids ministry, and then Sunday for worship online. Have a good night.